At least the NHL has given us something to talk about. They had a return plan. They are in the playoffs. They
Blackhawks
are
are in the
playing the
playoffs.
Edmonton Oilers, I think, or am I right?
Yep. Yep, they are the 12 seed. They were the last seed in the Western Conference. They draw the number
I
5
have
seed,
to
the
apologize
Edmonton
to
Oilers.
Pop the
Matt
champagne.
Schofield. Um, I kind of laughed in his face when he said something about the Blackhawks being back. I was wrong. He was right. They're back. I'm back in. We're gonna win the Stanley Cup. I already put some money on them winning the Stanley Cup. Whenever it's gonna happen, it may not happen for a while. I don't know. But it would be. It is. Just imagine if they would have been like the 13th seed and like wouldn't have been in. Like I would have been so depressed. Like the first
Yeah.
real schedule we get and the team that we like isn't even on it. Like especially in basketball too. Like we'll get more into that, but no way that the Bulls will make it, and there's no way you think they could do anything. This Blackhawks team could make a run. I think there's always the Stanley Cup playoffs are always crazy things happen all the time.
It's one of those things like get in the dance and see what happens, but I am definitely not. I give you all the credit, Zach. I'm not
It's
holding
just
my
fun
breath
to
on the
live in the
Blackhawks.
moment.
Edmonton's a pretty good hockey team. I
But
understand they're a good hockey team. Blackhawks have just been inconsistent all year, and but like you said, they've been off for 3 months. Edmonton could come back a completely different team. The Blackhawks could come back a completely different team. But the fact of the matter is now you have your hat in the ring, and you have your chance to make a possible crazy NHL playoff run, which we've seen in the past. So let the chips
what's
fall
the
where they
real
may right
odds of
now.
them getting to that point? Like it seemed like a nice thought that they want to be going around July with like training camp and stuff, but like they didn't even have like spots to go to at this point. Like they just had like the standings, which is nice to
Yep.
have, or the playoff setting they had, which they
And to clarify, the top 4 seeds in each conference are basically going to
yeah.
get a first round bye, and then the 5 to 12 seeds in each conference are going to play a 3 game round robin. The top 4 teams in each conference will play 3 round robin games, one against each of the other top seeds in their conference. So in the East, Boston's the 1, Tampa's the 2, the 3 is Washington, and the 4 is Philadelphia. In the West, the Blues are the 1 seed, Colorado's 2, Vegas is 3, and Dallas is 4, and then the 5 through 12 kind of play in, quote unquote, to
And
the
like I said,
rest of
it's
the
all a
playoffs.
nice idea, but like they said, the stuff they were saying, it was very like it's nice to talk about plans, but like these are very distant plans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and go ahead, gamer.
uh, for me, I think with
Hmm.
they at least have a plan in place. Like they know for sure, like, hey, if we get a window where we can do this thing, we know what we're doing, which is great to know because with a lot of other sports, we don't even know what the setup would be yet. At least with hockey, like they've said, you know what? If we have a month and a half, 2 month window where we can get this in, we know exactly what we're doing. We know how long it's going to take. We know what teams are involved. So all those teams have been notified, like they can start their training and all that. So at least they know what they would be doing. So I think as long as they do find that window, which I think they will, you find a month and a half window to do this
And
thing.
that's a
I
true.
think they'll
That's
get
a
it
good thing.
done.
That's a good point
Definitely.
because,
And
like, if you notify which teams are going to be in the playoffs, it kind of gives like, hey, the guys who aren't in the playoffs, here's an extended off season, and then for the teams that are in it, just keep yourself in shape. I mean, like, I'm not saying the guys that are on teams that aren't in it are gonna not get in shape, but they don't have to stay in game ready shape. Like they're not gonna be ready even once it comes back. So I think yeah, you're right. It's nice to notify teams
right.
who have to prepare themselves for the playoffs and to come back at a weird time.
Definitely. I think, and to clarify, for those teams playing in are playing a best of 5 series, and then what they're doing is kind of like you said, game of the preparation. They're having a hub city for the Eastern Conference in one city and a hub for the Western Conference in one city, so they know that if they have these facilities ready,
Chicago
they haven't narrowed
is
down what
one of
cities
the
they're going to be in.
options.
Possibly, yeah, Chicago, Columbus, Vegas, Edmonton, Vancouver. So it's one of those things like you said, gamer. They're ready to pull the trigger, and when they do find that gap. But it's just kind of a waiting game now to see when they can get that, or when they can find that gap, that
Like
time
you
that
said,
they
it
can get
just
these games in.
depends on. Hopefully, everything stays on track right now. But if anything goes differently than expected, then it could just all change. That's what they kind of said. Like it just, you have to go with all of the guidelines and everything, and just keep yourself out of trouble with the whole thing. You don't want to be, like I said, especially like when it first started. You didn't want to be the first, like, a building to like have like a case of the coronavirus in the building from going to that game. Like, they're not going to have fans for a long time, but they're still going to have players there, and then they got to go through like what their families are. At least they have that in a plan where they have they've all agreed on they're going to go to hub cities and they're going to play it there. And at least they have an agreement, and they're done with like the fighting of it, all of it.